Formidable objections about the existence of God were already identified in antiquity by Epicurus. He considered the following points. If God wishes to take away evils and is not able to, then he is feeble. If God is able to take away evils but does not wish to, then he is malevolent. If God neither wishes to nor is able to take away evils, then he is both malevolent and feeble, and therefore no God at all. If God wishes to take away evils and is able to, then why are there evils in the world, and why does he not remove them? People search for meaning of suffering and pain. They are so tortured and burdened by that thought that they unconsciously create their own mental hell. Multiply that hell of thoughts in their struggle for purpose, and you create the idea of evil. However canon that concept is in Berserk, the world still revolves around the causality and the Godhand. Guts was caught by the Holy Iron Chain Knights, who were trying to enact the will of God. The faithful met the faithless. Guts as a soldier was not keen on the idea of something supernatural, seemingly since birth, that acts benevolently in the name of good. There is no God for the mercenary, there is only the sword and the comrade. Was God too feeble to prevent the rape of Guts? Was he too feeble to protect his mother and him in her womb from this horrible death and birth? It really didn't matter. If such an entity did exist, it was too unimportant to notice on the battlefield. There were no miracles, only the smell of iron blood and fear. Guts even tells the story to the faithful Fanes of a nobleman who preached about God, but his village got burned down to the ground along with its mothers and children. Fanes repeatedly calls Guts a heretic who carries with himself pagan items, the Behelit. Guts then asks, "Have you met him?" God. Fanes paints the picture of the existence of God because of faith. Guts laughs. It seems too pretty of a picture, too good to be true. The paradox of the matter is that the symbol of the Holy See is a falcon of light. Later, the pontiff even got his faith restored by visions of it and real-life occurrences. Little did believers know that that symbol was a real person, Griffith, the herald of good and prosperity, the icon of freedom flight and bright light. It appears to be that it doesn't matter how a god or a herald of God achieved his powers. The central point is that he did, and if it brings good, it is desired. History is always written by the victors. There was no massacre of friends to the knowledge of most people. There was no betrayal. There was no bloodshed. There was no cruel sacrifice. There was no cooperation with evil. The hawk of light brings good, and that's all humans know about Griffith. They just don't know how he reached that point of godliness, and that he also brought bad into this world, by opening the gates of the astral world and releasing all type of creatures. But who was that God everyone talks about? The God of the human world, Griffith, was no God at all in the past. He was human. He felt anger, jealousy, sorrow, malice, pain, hunger, and he made his own mistakes, one of which didn't kill him, but left him just as a feeble observer. The Godhand are the angels of God, or in other words, the idea of evil. During the eclipse, that human God, the Hawk of Light, was feeble and malevolent. All that injustice that had happened to him beforehand, all these negative emotions. God said to Fanes, it all comes down to human ambition. Is it malevolent to sacrifice your closest people in cooperation with the harbingers of evil in the name of a better future? Possibly. Imagine knowing the person before he turned into God. And imagine you were also meant to be sacrificed in order for that God to exist. How would you feel? We see the experiences of such a situation in Guts and Casca, constantly being on the verge of death and agony. Yes, maybe there is an entity that can move the world no other can, but there is Guts who can tell the whole story, and that is one hell of a gruesome and unforgiving story, which he lives through every day. Guts was reduced to something less than a human. He was a sacrifice, and still is. His soul has no other significance to the world of causality, other than to be engulfed. This is where Guts shows his humanity. He might be unwanted and unfavored, a sacrificial lamb, but he will not bend to destiny's calling. He will adapt and struggle for his own sake and the sake of others, even if that means that he defies God.
I was in darkness, but I took 3 steps and found myself in paradise. The first step was a good thought, the second, a good word, and the third, a good deed.